After the events in Washington, D.C. this week, WCPO 9 News Director Mike Cannon wrote this column on our website to explain why every word we used mattered. We want to be as clear and transparent as we can be so you understand how we approach covering tough subject matter. It's why I asked Mike to talk about it.
Every word matters, whether it's a story about a bake sale or whether it's a story about something as significant and as historic as what happened on Wednesday. But what I think the reason that this felt like it was so necessary to write is that there were so many different words being used to describe who was there and what they were doing. And I personally felt like a lot of the words being used didn't line up. They didn't feel right to me. They either felt like they were overbroad or perhaps weren't the accurate description for the actions that were taking place. And so, in all of our discussions in our newsroom, we kind of kept coming back to, well, what words do we use then? And over again, we kept coming back to, let's let the facts speak for themselves.
As I was flipping through and watching coverage at the network level, I heard words like shameful. I heard journalists using words like shameful. Why is that a word you wouldn't have heard on our air?
First off, I don't think it's our role as journalists to make judgments on people's actions. I think it's our role to report the facts. Are there things there that took place that were crimes and that should not have been done? Absolutely. But I think that it's our job to make sure that the audience sees what happens, understands what happens, and can make their own judgment. In the column that I wrote, I referenced, I quoted three local leaders: Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, Senator Portman, and Mitch McConnell. And I let them speak for what they call it. I think Governor Beshear called the people there domestic terrorists. I think Mitch McConnell called it an insurrection. And Senator Portman called it a mob. They're certainly welcome to their opinion to call it that. But for us as journalists, we should stick to the facts.
What did we call it?
As the story progressed, the information changed. Like many of the protests or things that happened over the year of 2020, there was a mix of different people. There were some people who were there in DC who were protesting and simply waving flags. There were other people who clearly violated the law and trespassed where they weren't supposed to be and did things that they weren't supposed to do and caused property damage and destruction. And I think that we can run the risk of overgeneralizing if we label everybody with the same label. This started as a protest, and then it became something different. We're having lots of discussion with a lot of different voices to make sure that we all are on the same page, to make sure that we're applying standards and that we're making sure that we are there's a checks and balance here on each other and on our own human instincts and human biases, because we all are real people. There's not robots producing the news for you. And so having those discussions throughout was really important.
And Mike said the same thought and process applied to the events that followed the death of George Floyd last spring and summer. To understand, as Mike says, the time, energy, and care that factor into the decisions our journalists make, you can read more about our policies on WCPO.com/trust.